I have to be the person that women would want. Okay, what do they want? Clean, that's not a bad start. Reasonably good physical shape. So healthy, productive, generous, honest.
More important than any other feature across all cultures is that the woman reports that she sought someone who is kind to them. Not necessarily kind to everybody, but kind to them, right? Kind to them. Okay, so even if you think of like extreme money, right? Extreme money, or you think of extreme bodies or extreme resources, right? That somebody has. Women, in terms of who they tend to pair up with long-term, what is shown up over and over again in the data is that their top priority is that someone be kind to them. In other words, they're not interested in being with someone who's really wealthy who treats them like garbage.
What do women find attractive in men? There have been a number of studies on this very specific topic, right? Is it bearded men? Is it short men, tall men, dark, handsome man? Included things like facial hair, height, whether or not the man is willing to take on some household duties.
Many individuals get lost trying to figure out what women desire from men. What a man believes a woman wants might often turn out to be the polar opposite. Some guys believe that a woman wants money, automobiles, and an established male in a relationship. Despite the many fingers pointing at how most women value money, many more women just want a man's loyalty. Any good relationship is built on some basic, down-to-earth qualities, says licensed counselor Suzanne White.
And the women like men who are about 4 years older, cross-culturally. They like men who manifest signs of success, as well as being handsome and personable and all of that. They're looking for someone who's competent. This is for long-term mating, who's competent and generous, right? You want both of those. So competence would be intelligence, general cognitive ability, and the markers that go along with that. They want conscientiousness or openness, as well as other desirable personality traits. And they want generosity, honesty, all of those. But so they're looking for someone who can provide. Well, it's not because they're greedy precisely, it's because, well, they're going to put themselves in a more vulnerable position if they have a child.
While superficial qualities like good looks and sexual chemistry are some of the early indicators of compatibility.
You know, and it's because men's experience, generally speaking, the most probable answer to the question, will you give me your phone number, is, are you kidding? Right, exactly. So the probability of rejection is very, very high. And so they have to solve all the complicated problems of life in the time from the age of 20 to the age of 35. And men just don't have to do that. So the pressure isn't there for men. And so as women move towards their 30s, the power relationship between men and women also starts to transform. Because, I mean, there's almost nothing less valued than a young man. But that starts to change as men move towards their 30s if they're successful. Whereas there's almost nothing more valued than a young woman. But that changes as women move towards their 30s. So these are biological facts that make the mating situation, let's say, extraordinarily complicated and also quite tragic. And
the chimpanzee females will mate with any male, but the dominant males chase the subordinate males away. But human females are sexually selective, and it's not a trivial fact. So you have twice as many female ancestors as male ancestors. You think, well, how can that be? Well, imagine that on average, every single human female has had one child throughout the entire course of history, which is approximately correct, by the way. Then imagine that half of the men had 0 and the other half had 2. And the reason for that is because of female sexual selectivity. So it is actually the case that female humans are nature. It's not only that they're associated with nature symbolically. As far as reproduction is concerned, they are the force of nature that does the selection. And so they're nature in the most fundamental way. And there is a chaotic element of that, at least in relationship to men, and also in relationship to women, because a lot of the female-on-female competition is competition that's chaotic for the right to be sexually selective, right? Not only with regards to men, in relationship to each other, because part of what human females do is jockey for position in the female dominance hierarchy for the top position, which is the woman who gets to be most sexually selective.
Insistence that the highest moral virtue for a modern man is harmlessness, which is absurd. Women don't even like harmless men. They hate them. They like to claw them apart. You know, what women want are dangerous men who are civilized. And they want to help civilize them. Right? That's Beauty and the Beast. The Google engineers wrote a book a while back called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, which was a study of internet searches, billions of them, literally. And they were looking a lot at pornography use. And well, there's lots known about male pornography use, partly, and it's easy to understand. I mean, males are, you know, pretty visually oriented, and what attracts them to pornography is fairly straightforward. So for women, the story is more complex. They use pornography too, but it tends to be literary because women tend to like words more than they like visual stimuli. And so the Google guys tried to track down the archetypal structure of, well, they didn't use those words, of female pornography use. And so some of you know that's the taming of the wild man, essentially, by the desirable and virginal woman. And if you think women don't want that, then you better bloody well come up with an explanation for 50 Shades of Grey. Right, which is the most rapid-selling novel in human history, and emerged at exactly the same time that all of this noise about the absence of gender roles is being produced, you know, en masse. It's like perfect female fantasy. It's exactly archetypally correct. It's Beauty and the Beast. So what the Google guys showed was the structure of Beauty and the Beast, although they didn't use that as a referent, that the female pornographic fantasy was wild guy, you know, somewhat careless about the wants and desires of others, attractive to everyone, therefore high status, tamed by the magic of a single woman and brought into a relationship with her.
Women tend to prefer men who are physically fit and well-toned, but not muscle-bound. You see, women don't find those attractive, the extremely muscle-bound guys, but they like a guy who's physically fit, high shoulder to hip ratio. They like guys who are physically taller than they are, and guys who are a bit above average in height. So,
while no two women are the same, we rounded up 8 of the essential qualities that experts say all women want in a man. Confidence. When a man believes in himself, knows who he is, and knows what he wants, it's very appealing to a woman, and is usually something she can tell simply from the attitude he exudes. Trust and trustworthiness allow relationships to deepen, says DeGez White. When a man is honest and trustworthy, he instantly becomes more appealing and desirable to a woman. If he's dependable, truthful, genuine, and speaks from the heart, he's a guy who is worth pursuing, as people can take him at his word. Integrity. Women desire a man who is honorable, fair, and ethical. In terms of relationships, having integrity can help strengthen the bond a man has with a woman, as his moral principles will guide his behavior and help him to be the best partner that he can be. Compassion. A man who is compassionate and empathetic is one step ahead when it comes to attracting women. Women want a man they can open up to, whether it's about a bad day at the office or in regard to their deepest hopes and fears. Women are highly interested in a man who has the ability and desire to show care and concern for others. 2. Emotional availability. Women desire a man who is emotionally honest and forthright rather than a man who is cut off and emotionally unavailable. Women prefer a man who isn't afraid to show their true feelings and discuss them openly, instead of a man who keeps everything bottled up inside of him. Respect. A woman will be more drawn to a man who shows her care and gives her the respect she deserves. In order to have a healthy, happy, and successful relationship, both partners have to treat each other with respect. If a woman feels taken for granted, dispensable, or treated poorly by a man, she'll likely drop him in order to avoid a broken heart. A sense of humor. When two people are laughing at the same thing, they are basically saying, I share your perspective, your values, and I certainly share what you think is amusing, says Jeffrey Hall, PhD. Hall's study into the relationship between humor and romance found that the more times a man tried to be funny, and in turn the more times a woman laughed at his jokes, the more likely she was to be romantically interested one. It's simple science that a man who exudes a happy, lighthearted, and positive energy into the world will make a woman want to be around him. Maturity. Odds are that if the above traits apply to you, you've probably already got the maturity part down. It's important to show a woman that not only are you emotionally mature and able to keep an open line of communication, but also that you're mentally mature and capable of behaving like a grown-up when it's time to do so.